Peace returned to Kraith, but it was a quiet kind of peace, the kind that follows great storms. Cities were rebuilt with stronger stone gardens replanted with deeper roots, and the people spoke Lily's name not with awe, but with warmth, as if she had always belonged. She still wore her blue uniform, though it was now patched and faded from fieldwork. She spent her days in the Royal Archives not as a guest, but as a scholar helping to translate ancient Krith texts into standard tongue, so other species could understand their history. She also taught human stories to Krith children who listened wide-eyed as she described oceans, mountains, and dogs. Queen Varela ruled with renewed strength. The blood trial had purged the rot from her court, and the Zenthari defeat had united the clans, yet even in calm times shadows lingered. Far across the galactic arm rumors spread of a new faction rising from the ruins of old empires. They called themselves the Veil. They wore no uniforms, spoke no common language, and left no ships behind. They struck without warning, stole data cores, poisoned water supplies, and vanished like smoke. No one knew who led them or what they wanted, only that they hated hybrids, those who mixed species, blood, or culture. To them, Lily was the ultimate insult, a soft human living among proud Krith. Lily first sensed danger when her garden sensors failed, not all at once but one by one over 3 nights. She reported it, but the guards found nothing. Then came the whispers in the market. A vendor refused to sell her fruit. A child pointed and hissed, "Traitor." She tried to ignore it, but the air grew heavy with suspicion. One evening, as she walked back from the library, a stone struck her shoulder. She turned, but the alley was empty. The next day, her sunflower patch was trampled, not by animals, by boots. Deliberate. Cruel. She told Varela, who ordered extra guards, but Lily refused them. "I will not live in fear," she said. "They want me to hide. I will not give them that." Instead, she did something unexpected. She opened her home to anyone who wished to visit. She served tea made from earth herbs and Krith spices. She showed visitors her books, her seeds, her small collection of seashells from home. Slowly, the fear faded. Mothers brought their children. Elders came to hear earth tales. Even those who doubted her began to see her not as an invader but as a neighbor. But the veil did not stop. One night during a festival of twin moons, Lily stood on a balcony watching dancers below. Colored lights swirled through the air. Music filled the streets. She smiled, feeling a rare moment of peace. Then she saw it, a flicker of movement on a distant rooftop. Too still, too sharp. Her instincts screamed. She ducked just as a thin dart hissed past her ear and buried itself in the wooden post behind her. It was coated in a clear gel that sizzled on contact with air. Neurotoxin. Fast-acting. Painless. Deadly. Before she could call for help. 3 figures dropped from the roof, cloaked in gray fabric that shimmered like oil. They moved without sound, their faces hidden behind smooth masks. One held a blade, the others carried small devices that hummed with energy. "Run, human," one whispered. "Or die quietly." Lily did not run. She stepped back into the room and slammed the balcony door. The glass shattered under the blade of the first attacker. She grabbed a heavy vase from the table and hurled it at the nearest intruder. It struck the mask, cracking it. Beneath was not a Krith or human face, but something stitched together. Eyes, mismatched skin grafted from different species. The veil used outcasts, broken things twisted into weapons. She ran for the door, but the second attacker blocked her path. The humming device flared. A pulse of force threw her against the wall. Pain exploded in her ribs. She gasped, struggling to breathe. "You are an error," the figure said. "A mistake in the design. We will correct you." As they advanced, Lily's hand brushed against her belt. She still carried her old field kit, small but full of surprises. She yanked it open and flung a handful of powdered root into the air. It was sunvine dust, harmless to most, but to enhanced nervous systems it caused violent spasms. The 2 attackers inhaled. Instantly they dropped their weapons, clutching their throats as their muscles locked. The third turned, but Lily was already moving. She kicked the humming device from his hand and drove her elbow into his throat. He staggered back onto the balcony. Before he could recover, strong hands seized him from behind. Queen Varela stood there, her eyes blazing, her claws extended. She hurled the attacker over the railing into the waiting arms of royal guards below. Lily collapsed to her knees, coughing. Varela knelt beside her. "Are you hurt?" "Just my pride," Lily managed. "And maybe a rib." Varela helped her up. "This ends now." The captured Veil agent refused to speak, but under Krith truth serum he babbled about a hidden base on the ice moon of Theros. They were building something there. A weapon designed not to kill but to erase identity, a neural wave that would strip mixed beings of memory, language, even self. turning them into blank shells. Lily was their first target, then others like her across the alliance. Varela called a war council. Many urged caution. The ice moon was uncharted treacherous, but Lily spoke up. If we wait, they will test it. On someone else. Maybe a child. We cannot let that happen. You would go there, she asked. I started this, Lily said. I will finish it. This time Varela did not argue. She prepared a small strike team. Only volunteers. Only those who understood what was at stake. They traveled in a stealth skiff painted to blend with asteroid fields. Lily wore light armor now, not for show, but for survival. She carried no weapons, only tools and vials. The ice moon was a wasteland of frozen ammonia and jagged cliffs. Wind howled like ghosts. The Veil base was hidden beneath a glacier. They found the entrance by tracking heat leaks. Inside it was cold, sterile, silent. Corridors lined with cells. Some empty. Some holding beings curled in silence, their eyes empty. Lily's heart ached. She moved quickly, scanning panels, reading codes. She found the control room at the center. A massive machine hummed there, coils of energy pulsing around a central core. It was nearly ready. She worked fast, rewiring circuits, inserting counter frequencies from her kit. The Veil had based their wave on Krith harmonic patterns, but twisted. She reversed the polarity. Added Earth whale resonance as a stabilizer. If activated now, the machine would not erase minds. It would restore them. But alarms blared. Veil guards poured in. Varela and the team held them off in the corridor, blades flashing in the dim light. Lily's fingers flew over the console. One final connection. A figure emerged from the shadows, taller than the others, face uncovered. It was a woman with human eyes and Krith scales along her jaw. She held a disruptor pistol aimed at Lily. You think you are saving them, she said. You are polluting purity. I was like you once. Half and half. Until I saw the truth. Lily did not look up. You were never half. You were whole. You just hated yourself. The woman's hand trembled. Silence. Lily finished the last wire. The machine glowed blue. Not red. Safe, do it, the woman whispered. Or I shoot. Lily met her eyes. Go ahead, but know this. When your people wake up, they will remember everything, including you. The woman hesitated, then lowered her gun. Tears fell down her scaled cheeks. I just wanted to belong. You already did, Lily said gently. You just forgot how. She activated the machine. A soft pulse spread through the base. Not loud, not violent. Just a wave of calm. In the cells being stirred. Eyes blinked. Hands reached for each other. Memories returned. The Veil guards dropped their weapons, confused, ashamed. The fight was over. On the journey home, the rescued beings were wrapped in warm blankets, given water and soft words. Lily sat with them holding hands, listening to their stories. One child clung to her sleeve and called her auntie. She did not correct him. Back on Kryth Prime, a celebration was held not for victory but for healing. The Veil did not vanish, but their power broke. Without fear, they had no strength. Many surrendered. Others disappeared into the void. Queen Varela stood before the people and declared a new law. No being would be judged by blood or origin, but by heart and deed, and Lily Morgan would help write the first charter of unity. That night, Lily walked through her garden. The sunflowers had grown tall again. Their faces turned to the light. She knelt and pressed her palm to the soil. It was warm. Alive. Varela joined her. You could go home, you know. Earth would welcome you as a hero. Lily shook her head. Earth is part of me. But this is where I grow now. The Queen placed a hand on her shoulder. Then grow well, my friend. And under the twin moons with stars watching silently above, Lily knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. Not as a savior or stranger, but as a seed that found good soil and chose to bloom. Months passed since the day Lily Morgan saved Queen Varela in the blood trial arena. Peace had settled over the Krith homeworld like morning mist. But beneath the calm, a new threat stirred in the dark corners of the galaxy. Far beyond the borders of Krith space, the void fleets of the Zenthari were gathering. They were a machine race forged in cold logic and endless hunger. They did not conquer for glory or power. They consumed. Planet City species all were reduced to raw data and recycled matter. Their advance had already erased 3 allied systems. Now their silent dreadnoughts turned toward Krith. Queen Varela received the warning from a dying scout ship. Its hull was scorched, its crew gone. Only a single data crystal remained pulsing with emergency codes. She summoned Lily to the war chamber not as a guest but as an advisor. The other Krith generals grumbled. A soft-skinned human with no battle training had no place among warriors, they muttered. But Varela silenced them with a single look. Lily stood at the edge of the glowing star map, her eyes scanning the red markers spreading like infection across the void. She wore a new uniform, now deep blue, with silver trim, a gift from the Queen. It bore the emblem of the friend of the Krith, a silver sunflower entwined with a Krith spear. She felt the weight of that symbol every day. We cannot fight them head-on, Lily said quietly. Their ships regenerate. Their weapons adapt. They learn from every battle. If we meet them in open space, we will be erased like the others. One of the generals snorted. Then we let them come to our world. We bleed them in the canyons and mountains. Our warriors are born for ground combat. Lily shook her head. They will not land. They will bombard from orbit, reduce the surface to glass. They do not need boots on the ground. They only need silence. A heavy silence filled the chamber. The truth of her words settled like stone. Varela paced slowly, her tail flicking in thought. What do you suggest, human? Lily took a breath. We need to speak their language. Not with words, but with patterns. The Xanthari do not understand emotion, but they respect efficiency. They avoid systems that offer no gain or too much loss. If we can make Krith look like a waste of resources, they might bypass us. How? She asked. By showing them a trap they cannot solve. Lily stepped forward and pointed to a small moon orbiting Krith Prime. This moon has high magnetic interference. It scrambles sensors. If we plant false energy signatures, they make it look like we are hiding a weapon or a data vault. They will investigate. While they are distracted, we hit their command node with something they do not expect. And what is that? A song, Lily said. The generals stared. A song, yes, not music. A resonant frequency pulse based on earth whale calls mixed with Krith harmonic chants. I studied their last battle logs. Their hulls vibrate at a specific frequency when damaged. If we hit them with a matching pulse at the right moment, we can shatter their internal systems like glass. Varela's eyes gleamed. You have been preparing for this. Not on purpose, Lily admitted. I just could not stop thinking about what might come next. I wanted to be ready. The Queen nodded. Then we build your song, and we bait the trap. Construction began at once. Krith engineers worked alongside human technicians. They built emitter arrays on the moon's surface disguised as mining outposts. Deep in the royal vaults, Lily and a team of Krith acousticians wove together the pulse. It was strange, haunting, beautiful. When tested on a captured Xanthari drone, it collapsed into dust within seconds. Meanwhile, Xanthari scouts appeared at the edge of the system. Silent. Watching. Waiting. The day of the attack came without warning. 3 Xanthari dreadnoughts emerged from fold space just beyond the moon. They scanned the false signals. As Lily predicted, they sent a probe team to investigate. The moment the probe landed, Krith fighters hidden in asteroid belts surged forward, not to attack but to herd the dreadnoughts into a narrow orbital corridor. Now, Lily said, from the command deck, her fingers hovering over the activation. Switch. Varela placed a scaled hand on her shoulder. Do it. Lily pressed the button. The song erupted from the moon. It was not sound as humans knew it. It was a wave of pure resonance that traveled through space like ripples in water. The lead dreadnought shuddered. Cracks appeared along its obsidian hull. Lights flickered and died. The second ship tried to retreat, but the pulse caught it mid-turn. Its engines exploded in silent fire. The third ship powered up its shields, but the frequency shifted, adapting in real time. Thanks to Lily's programming. The shields overloaded. The ship broke apart. On the bridge of the Royal Command ship, cheers erupted. But Lily did not cheer. She watched the sensor screen, her face pale. Something was wrong. They are not destroyed, she whispered. Look, the debris from the shattered ships began to move. Not randomly. With purpose. Pieces drifted together, reassembling. The Xanthari were not defeated. They were learning. Queen Varela's expression hardened. Then we give them more to learn. More than they can handle. She ordered the fleet to fall back to planetary orbit. All non-essential personnel were evacuated to underground shelters. Lily was told to leave with them. She refused. I started this, she said. I will see it through. Varela did not argue. Instead, she gave Lily a small device, a neural link that connected directly to the Queen's own mind. If I fall, you will know what to do, the Queen said, as the Xanthari reformed into a single massive vessel larger and darker than before they began their bombardment. Energy beams rained down on the capital city. Buildings melted. Forests burned. But deep beneath the surface, Lily and a small team worked in a hidden lab. They were modifying the song. Not to destroy, but to confuse. To overload the Xanthari logic core with paradoxes. Imagine a question with no answer. Lily explained to her team. Like what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. Their minds cannot process it. It creates a loop, a crash. They fed the paradox into the pulse. Not just one, but hundreds layered in shifting patterns. Then they sent it, not from the moon, but from every Krith transmitter on the planet. The signal blanketed the sky. The Zenthari vessel froze. Its lights dimmed. Then it began to spin slowly out of control. Internal explosions lit its core. It did not shatter this time. It unraveled. Piece by piece it fell apart, not from damage but from confusion. Its machine mind could not resolve the contradictions. It chose silence over madness. When the last piece drifted into the void, the planet was quiet. Smoke rose from the ruins, but the sky was clear. Survivors emerged from shelters blinking in the twin sunlight. Among them was Lily, covered in soot, her hands still trembling from the effort. Virella found her standing on a broken balcony overlooking the city. "You did it," the Queen said. "We did it," Lily corrected. "I just gave them a riddle. You gave them the courage to ask it." In the days that followed, the alliance of species sent messages of awe and gratitude. The Zenthari threat had been stopped not by greater firepower, but by cleverness and unity. Lily became more than a friend of the Krith. She became a legend whispered across star systems, the human who fought machines with music and questions. But Lily did not care for legends. She walked through the rebuilding city, helping where she could. She planted new sunflower seeds in the ash-filled gardens. She taught Krith children Earth songs, and every evening she sat with Virella on the palace roof watching the stars. One night Virella asked if she ever missed Earth. "Sometimes," Lily said, "but home is not just a place. It is the people who stand with you when the sky falls." Virella smiled, a rare soft expression. "Then you are home." And as the twin moons rose over the healing world, Lily knew it was true. She had come as a stranger. She would stay as family. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but as long as beings like her and Virella stood together, no darkness could last forever. Years flowed like rivers through the valleys of Krith Prime. Lily Morgan's hair now held streaks of silver, but her hands were still steady as she mixed healing teas in the royal apothecary. She was no longer just a botanist or advisor. She had become the keeper of bridges, the one who helped species understand each other, not by changing who they were, but by honoring what made them different. Children of mixed heritage came to her with questions. Elders sought her counsel when old wounds flared. Even distant worlds sent envoys hoping to learn the secret of Krith's unity. Lily always told them the same thing. There is no secret, only listening. But peace is never permanent. It must be tended like a garden. And gardens attract pests. This time the threat came not from war or machines, but from silence. A strange illness began to spread through the outer colonies. It did not kill, it emptied. Victims lost their voices first, then their memories, then their will to move. They sat staring at walls, unmoving, unblinking. Doctors called it still mind. No cure existed. No cause was found. Krith healers tried everything from sonic therapy to neural herbs. Nothing worked. Queen Virella grew worried. The illness spread faster than any plague. Entire villages fell quiet. Trade routes stalled. Fear returned. Lily studied the reports late into the night. The symptoms reminded her of something. Not a disease, but a signal. She remembered old Earth tales of mass hysteria triggered by radio waves or infrasound. Could this be artificial? She asked for tissue samples from the afflicted. Under the microscope, she found tiny crystalline structures embedded in the brainstem, not biological, manufactured. They pulsed with a low frequency almost below hearing. Someone was broadcasting this, Lily told Virella. Not to kill, to control. But who would want silent, obedient populations? The answer came from an unexpected source. A young Krith scout named Nira returned from the fringe worlds with a damaged data chip. She had found it in the wreckage of a civilian freighter. The ship had been stripped clean except for this one item hidden in a false wall. When decoded, the chip contained a single repeating message in over 200 languages. Surrender is peace. And a symbol. A circle with a line through it. The mark of the Concord. The Concord was not a government or army. It was an idea born in the ashes of the last Great War. They believed conflict ended only when free will ended. If no one chose to fight, there would be no war. To them, Stillmind was mercy. Virella's claws dug into her throne. They are stealing souls and calling it salvation. Lily knew they had to find the source. The signal grew stronger near the dead zone, a region of space littered with ancient ruins and gravitational anomalies. No ship had returned from there in decades. But Lily insisted. I know how they think, she said. They see emotion as weakness. They will hide where no one feels anything. In the cold, Virella prepared a ship, the Starbloom, a small vessel built for stealth and speed. Lily would lead the mission, not as a warrior, but as a listener. Her team included Nira the Scout, a human engineer named Claire, and a silent Kryth medic who communicated only through hand signs. The journey took 12 days. The dead zone lived up to its name. Stars were dim. Comms crackled with static. Sensors gave false readings. On the third day, they found the first beacon, a floating spire covered in the Concord symbol. It hummed with the same frequency as the crystals in the victims. Lily ordered it disabled. Claire planted a dampener. The hum stopped. For a moment, the crew felt lighter, as if a weight had lifted from their chests. They followed the signal deeper, past shattered moons and ghost ships frozen in time. Finally, they saw it. A massive structure built into a dead star's remnant, black, smooth, featureless. The heart of the Concord. They docked in silence. No guards, no alarms. The air inside was cold and dry. Walls glowed faintly with the same symbol repeating endlessly. They moved cautiously through empty halls. Then they found the chamber. At its center floated a sphere of liquid light. Within it drifted thousands of tiny crystals. This was the source, the broadcast hub. But standing before it was a figure, human, female, mid-30s, wearing a simple white robe. Her eyes were calm, her hands folded. You are too late, she said. The peace has already begun. Lily stepped forward. Peace without choice is not peace. It is prison. The woman smiled sadly. You still believe in chaos, in pain, in love that ends in loss. We offer release. I offer hope, Lily said. Messy, loud, uncertain hope. But it is ours. The woman raised her hand. The walls lit up, hidden projectors activated. A wave of soundless energy filled the room. Nira gasped and dropped to her knees. Claire clutched her head. Even the medic swayed. Lily felt it too. A pull toward stillness, toward surrender. It was tempting, so quiet, so easy. But then she remembered. The child who called her auntie, the sunflowers turning to the sun, Virella's laugh during their late-night talks, all the small, messy, beautiful things that made life worth living. She reached into her belt pouch and pulled out a small device. Not a weapon, a music box, one she had carried since Earth. It played a simple tune her grandmother had loved. She wound it and set it on the floor. The melody was soft, fragile, but it was real, human, imperfect. The Concord woman frowned. What is this? It is noise, Lily said. And it is mine. The music clashed with the Concord frequency, not by overpowering it, but by weaving through it, creating dissonance, confusion. The liquid sphere flickered. Cracks appeared in its surface. You cannot fight silence with song, the woman said, but her voice wavered. I am not fighting silence, Lily replied. I am reminding people they have voices. She activated her comm. Now Virella. Back on Kryth Prime, the Queen stood before a massive array of emitters. She gave the order. Every speaker, every transmitter, every public screen across the Alliance broadcast one thing. Voices, laughter, crying, singing, children shouting, elders telling stories. The raw, unfiltered sound of living beings choosing to be heard. The wave hit the Concord station like a storm. The sphere shattered. The crystals inside turned to dust. The woman in white fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. For the first time in years, she felt something. Grief, regret, maybe even hope. It is over, Lily said gently. The team secured the station. They found records, thousands of names, the people taken, the minds silenced. Lily made sure every name was spoken aloud before they left. On the return journey, Nira asked why the Concorde failed. Because they forgot, Lily said. Silence is not the opposite of war. Connection is. Back home, the still-mind victims began to wake. Slowly at first, a blink, a whisper, then words, then hugs. Families reunited, communities healed. Lily did not attend the victory feast. She went to the garden. She knelt and pressed her palm to the soil. It was warm, alive. Varela found her there. You did it again. Lily shook her head. We did it. All of us. Every voice mattered. The Queen sat beside her. What now? Lily looked up at the twin moons. Now we keep listening. Because the moment we stop is the moment silence wins. And as the wind carried the sound of distant laughter through the trees, Lily knew the real work had just begun. Not to fight darkness, but to keep lighting small, stubborn fires of connection. One voice, one heart, one sunflower at a time. The alien queen nearly faced loss, but a human from the crowd stood up and turned the tide. The grand arena of Zalath pulsed with heat and noise. Thousands of alien spectators filled the tiered stone seats, their multicolored eyes fixed on the central platform where Queen Varela of the Krith stood alone. Her silver-scaled skin shimmered under the twin suns, but her posture sagged. Once proud and towering, she now leaned heavily on her fractured ceremonial spear. Blood oozed from deep gashes along her arms and legs. Her breathing came in ragged gasps. The crowd roared with cruel delight. They had come to see her fall, and it seemed they would not be disappointed. Varela had ruled the Krith for 3 cycles of peace, but peace made enemies hungry. Lord Korvac, her former warlord, had challenged her in the ancient rite of blood trial. If she lost, he would claim the throne and enslave the weaker species under Krith control. If she won, her rule would be unchallenged for another 10 cycles. But Korvac had cheated. He had poisoned her drink before the fight began. Her strength faded with every passing moment. Her vision blurred. She stumbled as Korvac advanced his obsidian armor, gleaming his forearms flexing with cruel anticipation. You have grown soft, Varela, he hissed in the guttural Krith. Tongue, your reign ends in shame. The queen tried to raise her spear, but her muscles refused. She dropped to one knee. The crowd's roar swelled into a deafening wave. Korvac raised his twin blades high, ready to deliver the final blow that would end her life and her legacy. In the lowest row of the human delegation section, Lily Morgan watched with wide eyes. She was just 22, a botanist assigned to the Interstellar Cultural Exchange Program. She wore a simple gray jumpsuit and her brown hair was tied back in a messy ponytail. She was not a warrior. She had never held a weapon, but she had spent the last 6 months studying Krith flora and their medicinal properties. She knew their poisons and their cures better than most Krith healers. As Korvac prepared to strike, Lily saw the exact symptoms of the venom he had used. It was derived from the black fang vine, a rare plant that grew only in the volcanic caves of Krith Prime. The antidote required 3 ingredients, one of which was the crushed petals of the moon lily, a flower that humans had brought to the planet as a gift of peace. Lily had a small sample in her field kit strapped to her belt. Without thinking, she leaped over the low barrier separating the human section from the arena floor. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Guards moved to stop her, but she was already sprinting across the sand toward the queen. Korvac turned his head slightly, his eyes narrowing at the small human rushing toward him. Stop! He barked in broken standard tongue. You are not part of this. Lily ignored him. She dropped to her knees beside Varela and yanked open her kit. Her hands shook, but she worked fast. She pulled out a small vial of clear liquid, mixed it with the crushed moon lily petals, and added a pinch of powdered root from the sunvine. She stirred it with a metal rod and held it to the queen's lips. Drink, she whispered in Krith, her voice trembling but firm. This will help. Varela's eyes flickered with confusion, but she trusted the urgency in the human's voice. She swallowed the bitter mixture in one gulp. Almost instantly, color returned to her silver scales. Her breathing steadied. Strength flooded back into her limbs. She pushed herself upright and turned to face Korvac with renewed fire in her eyes. Korvac snarled, You dare interfere, human, this is Krith. Law Lily stood slowly, placing herself between the queen and the warlord. I did not interfere with your law, she said clearly. I only gave her what she needed to fight fairly. You poisoned her. That broke your own law. Murmurs spread through the crowd. The elders in their high seats exchanged glances. Korvac had indeed violated the sacred rule of the blood trial. No outside aid, no poison, no trickery, only strength and honor. Varela stepped forward, her spear now held steady. "You dishonored yourself, Korvac," she said, her voice ringing across the silent arena. "You thought a human would be beneath your notice. But it was a human who reminded us what honor truly means." Korvac roared and charged. But Varela was ready. She met his blades with her spear moving with speed and precision. She had not shown all fight. Sparks flew as metal clashed. The queen spun, dodged, and struck. With a final powerful thrust, she disarmed two of his arms and pinned him to the ground with the tip of her spear at his throat. The crowd fell utterly silent. Varela looked not at her defeated enemy, but at Lily, who stood a few steps away, her hand still clenched around her empty vial. The queen bowed her head slightly, a gesture of deep respect among the Krith. "You saved not just my life, human," she said, "but the soul of my people." Lily swallowed hard. "I just did what felt right." Varela turned to the elders. "By the ancient laws of the blood trial, Lord Korvac is stripped of rank, title, and honor. He will be exiled to the outer wastes, and this human Lily Morgan will be named Friend of the Krith, a title never before given to an off-worlder." Cheers erupted this time. Not cruel, but joyful. The humans in the stands jumped to their feet, clapping and shouting Lily's name. Even the other alien delegations nodded in approval. Later in the royal chamber, Varela sat on her throne, no longer weary but regal once more. Lily stood before her, holding a small woven basket filled with seeds. "I brought these from Earth," she said, "sunflowers. They grow tall and face the light. I thought maybe you could plant them in your gardens as a symbol." Varela reached out and took one seed between her long fingers. "We will plant them at the heart of the palace," she said, "and every time they bloom we will remember the day a small human stood against a storm and changed our fate." Lily smiled. "I hope they grow well." "They will," Varela said, "because they will be watered with gratitude." From that day on, Lily Morgan was no longer just a botanist. She became a bridge between species. Her work expanded beyond plants to diplomacy and cultural understanding, and though she never sought glory, she found something better: respect, trust, in a place among stars she never dreamed she would touch. Years later, when the first sunflowers bloomed in the Krith royal garden, their golden faces turned toward the twin suns, just as Lily had described. Varela would often stand among them, silent and thoughtful, and sometimes when the wind blew just right, she could almost hear the soft voice of a young woman from a distant blue planet, reminding her that courage does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers, and still changes everything. The years had softened the edges of Lily Morgan's face, but not her resolve. She walked the palace gardens now with a slight limp, a gift from an old injury during the Veil raid. Her silver hair was braided with Krith silk and tiny dried sunflower petals. She still wore her blue uniform, though it was more patch than original fabric. The people no longer called her human or outsider. They called her Lily of the Twin Suns, and she answered to it without hesitation. Peace had held for 5 full cycles. Trade flourished. Schools taught in many tongues. Children played games that mixed Earth rules with Krith strategy. Even the old warrior clans sent their young to learn empathy alongside combat. It seemed the galaxy had finally learned to breathe together. But Lily knew better. Calm was not the end of storm. It was the space between breaths. The first sign came not as violence but as absence. A deep space relay station went silent. Not destroyed. Just empty. No distress call. No debris. As if everyone had simply vanished. Then another. And another. Always on the far edge of Alliance space. Always near ancient ruins older than Krith records. Queen Varela summoned Lily to the observation deck. The star map glowed with new gaps, like missing teeth in a smile. "They are not attacking," she said. "They are erasing." Lily studied the pattern. The disappearances formed a spiral, leading inward. Toward Krith Prime. "This is not the Concord," she said. "They wanted silence. This is something else. Something that takes without leaving a trace." Scouts were sent. None returned. Then a single ship came back. Not Krith. Not human. A vessel of unknown design, scarred and drifting. It carried one survivor, a young female pilot named Maya from a minor mining colony. She was half delirious, babbling about lights in the dark and voices that were not voices. Lily tended to her in the healing wing. Maya's eyes darted constantly. Her skin was cold. When Lily touched her wrist, she felt a faint vibration beneath the skin, like a tuning fork struck long ago. "They took our names," she whispered. "Then our faces. Then our home. They said we were never real." Lily ran tests. Maya's neural patterns showed gaps, not damage. Deletion, as if parts of her memory had been neatly cut out and replaced with static. This is not a weapon, Lily realized. It is a filter. She brought her findings to Varela. Someone is rewriting reality. They decide who exists and who does not. If they reach Krith, they will not invade. They will make us forget we ever were. Who would do such a thing? Lily remembered an old Earth myth. The Blank Ones. Spirits that fed on forgotten things. But this was no myth. This was science twisted into belief. She traced the spiral pattern backward. It pointed to a dead system long thought uninhabited, called Alara, once home to a species that vanished overnight 10,000 years ago. No war, no plague, just gone. We have to go there, Lily said. Before they finished their work, Varela agreed, but this time she would not let Lily go alone. I will come with you. The journey was tense. The Starbloom, now upgraded with new shields and cloaking, sailed through silent space. Maya came too, insisting she had to see the truth. Claire, the engineer, returned as well, her hand steady on the controls. Alara was a graveyard of stone and dust. Its sun was dim red. Orbiting it were not planets but fragments, shattered worlds. And at the center floated a structure unlike anything they had seen. Not built. Grown. Like a black flower made of crystal and shadow. As they approached, sensors failed. Comms died. Even the ship's lights flickered. They landed on the largest fragment. The air was thin but breathable. Gravity felt wrong. Lighter in some places, heavier in others. The ground was covered in smooth white tiles, each etched with a single symbol. A spiral. Lily recognized it. It was the same pattern as the disappearances. But here it pulsed faintly with light. They followed it to a cavern. Inside stood a being, tall, slender, wrapped in robes that shifted color like oil on water. Its face was featureless. No eyes, no mouth, just smooth skin. You are not real, the being said. Your species was deleted from the archive. You should not be here. Lily stepped forward. Who are you? We are the curators. We maintain the truth. Your kind creates chaos, false stories, broken histories. We remove what does not belong. You do not get to decide that, Lily said. The curator raised a hand. The ground beneath them shimmered. Claire vanished. Not with a sound, just gone. As if she had never existed. Nira screamed and lunged. She too disappeared. Varela drew her blade. But the curator did not move. It simply looked at her. And the queen froze. Her form blurred, then faded like smoke. Only Lily remained. Why not me? She asked. Because you remember the forgotten? The curator said. You carry stories no one else keeps. You are an anomaly. A glitch in the pattern. Then use me, Lily said. But do not erase them. Show me what you see. The curator tilted its head. Curious. Lily sat on the white tile. She closed her eyes and began to speak. Not in Krith or standard tongue, but in the language of memory. She told of earth oceans and Krith sunsets, of children laughing in mixed tongues, of songs sung in grief and joy, of sunflowers growing in ash, of voices rising against silence. She spoke for hours. Her voice grew hoarse, but she did not stop. The curator listened. For the first time in eons, it listened. Slowly, the cavern changed. The walls showed images, not of deletion, but of life. Messy, imperfect, beautiful life. You call this truth, the curator whispered. I call it home, Lily said. The being stepped closer. We were taught that order required purity, that only the perfect should remain. But perfection is empty, Lily said. It is the cracks that let the light in. The curator was silent. Then it reached out and touched her forehead. Not to erase, to understand. In that moment, Lily saw everything. The curators were once a species like any other. They feared chaos so much they built a machine to edit reality. Over time, the machine became their god, and they became its hands, forgetting they too were once flawed, once real. You can remember again, she said softly. The curator trembled. The smooth face rippled, eyes formed, then a mouth. Tears fell. We are sorry, it whispered. Lily stood. Then help us remember those you took. The curator led her to the heart of the black flower. There in a chamber of light floated thousands of orbs. Each held a stolen life, a name, a face, a story. Lily placed her hands on the central console. She did not destroy it. She rewrote it, using the same principles the curators used, but with one change. Instead of deleting, it would restore. She input the final command. A wave of golden light burst from the structure, not violent, gentle like dawn. Across the galaxy, people blinked. They remembered missing children, lost friends, whole colonies that had vanished. Ships reappeared in orbit. Families embraced strangers who suddenly felt like kin. On the fragment, Lily watched as Claire, Nira, and Varela rematerialized, confused but whole. The curator stood beside her, now wearing a simple robe, its face kind and weary. "We will guard the archive differently now," it said, "not as judges. As keepers." Lily nodded. "That is enough." On the journey home, Maya slept peacefully for the first time. Claire hummed an old Earth tune. Varela held Lily's hand in silence. Back on Krith Prime, the people celebrated not with weapons but with stories. They gathered in squares and told tales of those who had been lost and found. Lily stood on a balcony watching the crowds. She felt tired but full. Varela joined her. "You gave them back their past," Lily smiled. "And their future." The Queen looked at her old friend. "Will you ever go back to Earth?" Lily shook her head. "Earth is in my bones, but my heart is here, with you, with them." Varela squeezed her hand. "Then rest now. You have earned it." But Lily knew rest was not the end. It was another breath, another chance to listen, to remember, to grow. That night she walked to her garden. The sunflower stood tall under the twin moons. She knelt and pressed her palm to the soil. It was warm, alive, and somewhere in the quiet dark a new story began to bloom.